Hello, and welcome to WonderWoman Wednesdays Roundtable, a special series where we bring you discussions on relevant topics from our WiP Wonder Woman. My name is Nanaki, and I will be moderating the discussion on writing in the age of social media. As consumers, social media and digital transformation are changing what and how we read. But how do these platforms and trends in consumption affect writers and content creators? Whether it is creating an impactful tweet under 280 characters, writing for a blog, or drafting scripts for a video essay, let's find out what our panelists think. Today with us, we have Ranjana Kamo, who is an author and a motivational writer. We have Ritika Singh, who is the CEO of the Content Factory and an active blogger. And we have Priya Nair, who is a technology expert in AI, ML, and data analytics. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Nanki.
Thank you so much, Nanki. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Nanki. It's great to be here.
So happy to have you all here. So let's get started. So how is writing for social media different than traditional writing, in your opinion? Let's start with Ritika.
Thanks so much, Nanki, for this question. I think one of the basic premises on which social media was built was to give everybody a voice, everybody an opinion. And unfortunately, of course, a lot of good things happened that people were not dependent on a certain platform or certain media to express what they thought and what they felt. And one, it also linked people directly to each other, and they could exactly put out what they wanted to really say. Having said that, what also happened in the process was that a lot of people who were actually not that talented or skilled or with valid opinions also started to get a voice. So there was a lot of noise, not just voices anymore. So if you go back, you remember when you would read those good old Tribunes, good old Economic Times, good old HTs, there were, very selected people, just a couple of them who were, given that kind of a position where it says, oh, sir or ma'am, we require you to write this piece on so-and-so, your opinion matters, etc., etc. And here and now, there are people, things just go absolutely berserk. You don't even know what goes viral anymore, what doesn't. You really have no idea whether you're talking to a person or you're talking to a bot. Forget about what age, sex, and location. You don't even know it's a human being at the end of it all or not. So I think in the entire process, what has also happened is that we really don't even know whom we are talking to, who our audience is, whether those people are real or not. So that has changed the game completely. Now, if Nanaki Maitra has a point of view, it's out there. Right, wrong, who's going to decide that? If I have an opinion, I'm going to put it out there. And so for the rest of us. So that has completely changed the game as to who's reading, who's writing. I mean, it's like a huge royal big mess out there.
Yeah, the stretch of the reach has definitely extended. And just in my lifetime, so I was very young when Facebook came about, but then I've seen Twitter and Instagram and everything come in. So I've just seen, how many people have blogged onto the platform and how it is growing. And now we're all part of the metaverse, I believe, as Mark Zuckerberg said. So we'll see how that develops in the future. But let's go to Priya. Priya, would you have anything to build on that?
Yeah, for me, it is like all data, because there's lots of information that is being shared, right, across multiple platforms. And as Ritika was saying, everyone is talking, everyone is expressing themselves. So it's lots of information that is floating all around. Some may be fake, some are genuine. So it becomes increasingly difficult at times, for people to distinguish like what exactly is the actual news, the real news which they should be following. So that creates lot of confusion. That is what I would want to say.
Yeah. And Ranjana?
Thank you, Nanki. I agree with both Ritika and Priya when they say, that when you're reading something on social media, you really do not know whether it is authentic and who's there on the other side of your device, who's writing. But, if we were to broadly look at the difference between traditional writing and the social media writing, I can compare it, with say maybe writing a book. So when a person is writing a book, a person is writing probably one book in a year or maybe two. But in case of social media, the content is churned out every day by the writer. And for the readers, it becomes very difficult because, when a person picks up a book, a person is invested. They know, okay, this is 300 pages I'm going to read. It's going to take X amount of time. But when you translate this to social media, the person is scrolling through hundreds of pages of content. And if you're lucky, they may probably click on what you've written. And that is one battle that you have won because the reader has at least looked at what you've written. But the bigger challenge is to retain that reader's attention. And for doing that, you really have to come up with something interesting and something which would be useful for the reader. So that I feel becomes very difficult for the content writer because you have to be consistent, you have to churn out everything every day, and then you have to customize everything for the various platforms. And one benefit that I personally feel is that, again, going back to the example of writing a book, when you're writing a book for the masses, you are definitely expecting the book lovers to pick up your book. But in case of social media, I have the opportunity, or any writer has the opportunity to showcase the product, showcase your writing to both readers as well as non-readers. So you get a bigger opportunity, which is cost effective, cost free most of the time, and you get immediate feedback from them. And there is a bigger opportunity to convert that into sales.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to the next little thing that I wanted to talk to three of you about was something that you all brought up, was the algorithm. So when all of these social media platforms started, the algorithm wasn't as refined. There weren't those many people. So obviously it took some time to come about. So I'm actually going to go back to you, Priya, first. Can you explain in very layman's term, I'm sorry to put you on the spot for this, but explain in layman's term how exactly the algorithm works? What does one average person scrolling or who wants to start on Instagram, on Facebook, how should they be kicking it off?
Okay, so Nanaki, I would like to give you a small example of what happened a few years back with me. Like, we were traveling to middle, somewhere in India. And what happened was we reached that place, the destination, and then suddenly it was like, usually when we are in a new location or a place, we put up the map, the Google map, to find the way or to guide us. And suddenly I see that there is some messages popping up in form of SMS, and it is saying about one particular hotel in that locality, in that location where we were, and was asking me to rate that. Okay, so it was assuming that, okay, I have maybe visited that place and something like that. So that is when I could figure it out that it is because my location is on, that it is capturing. And this happened multiple times. Like, this was one case, and the other case was like when we were traveling by road. That is when I could see that as we were moving along the road, it was asking me to rate certain restaurants or hotels that we were passing by, and every time the destination changes based on how we are traveling. So it is actually tracking us, all these apps that are there in your devices. And suddenly it becomes so scary for you that people know that where you are, what are you trying to do, what places you have visited. So it started from there. That is when I became more inquisitive to figure out how things work with this various social media platform. And so these were the two examples when I feel the location was tracked and it started following me. The other case was when I was searching something on my internet, right? And I remember that I had logged in to my email account, and then what happened was I was searching for a particular course. And then suddenly, when I started opening more tabs on the browser, I see that it is recommending me courses or similar kind of courses from various online programs. So then that also something made me more inquisitive. What is happening, right? So then what do you do? So I talked to one of my friends to figure out what's happening with this. So that is when I realized that it is because I logged into my email ID that it knows that this. So what they have done is they have identified the user, right? Based on this user would have searched for certain things on the internet, and then next time when he or she comes, it just starts recommending you, right? So basically when I logged out and tried it, then I think it was fine. I mean, the recommendation stopped. So that is when we go and started investigating and figure out, okay, this is how it tracks the user, and the recommendation comes up, especially the ads you see in YouTube, or nowadays when you search anything in Google, you can see the ads coming up, the sponsored ads coming up. Similar things happen in Facebook as well. So the thing is, it is a recommendation system that is working behind the scene. So you type for a particular word or you search for a particular video, right? So it understands your taste, and based on that, next time when it comes to it is basically simple things, because all these videos or content which is put up there back in the backend database would have keywords, right? For what category it is. So based on that, they would be recommending the other things when the user comes next. So that is how this recommendation system works. So it works across all social media platforms.
That's very interesting. So the algorithm is basically based on recommendations of what your previous history and your previous data set.
Yes.
That's really good, because I'm going to throw this question out to both our content and social media ladies. So I'm going to start with Ritika. If you weren't at the mercy of this algorithm, how do you think you would utilize any social media platform if you weren't at the mercy of this? If you, as a CEO of Content Factory, were helping a client and you weren't at the mercy of this recommendation algorithm, how would you operate?
Frankly, Nanaki, I've always believed in something that I do personally, even for my own brand, for my company, as well as for clients, that we always try and capture organic growth, which means I think one of the earliest lessons I learned in understanding how digital marketing works, algorithm or not, is when you are genuinely trying to give something to someone without expecting anything in return, whether it is information, whether it is data, whether it is gyan, whether it is knowledge, whether it is resources, whatever it is that you're putting out there. So my first brief to a client when they look at digital marketing is that don't expect anything to come to you from day one, as in returns. Wait a while. There is an inside joke we have amongst ourselves, amongst the team, is that when we go looking, okay, not as clients, but as clients looking for, let us say, the best bakery in town, right? So let us say the best bakery in Chandigarh, if I'm typing that, I will go to page 3. I won't go to page 1 and 2 of Google, which is exactly something which is, I love the reaction on your face. It's like, why would you want to go to page 3 and why not page 1 and 2? Because those are the guys that have spent the maximum amount of money on SEO and AdWords and probably understanding how the algorithm works. That necessarily does not mean that they are the best bakers in town. So when all of us search for stuff, this is an inside thing I'm telling you. When we look for stuff for ourselves, we know that a guy sitting on page 1 is probably pumped some X amount of thousands into, social media marketing, because this is what we do for a living, right? This is what we do for other clients. So I'm very happy being on page 3, but this is something most people don't know or understand, because everybody just trying to, like they say, crack the algorithm. There's no need. I mean, it's all good. It's all fine. You being the best bakery and you being on page 1 are completely dissociated with each other. Yes, it will turn up for a lazy user who would say, oh, this is turned up. Okay, tuck. They may not have the best of experiences. Let me tell you that. So, and this is something we did a research on internally, and we tried to figure out that does this really work? I mean, is it true that, yes, there are coincidences where genuinely a good bakery would have spent some good amount of money into digital marketing and probably got themselves on page 1. but that doesn't always happen. We have never, till date, we are almost 8 years old, Nanki, till date, we've never spent a single rupee on marketing or on AdWords or on SEO or on anything else. We just go about doing our own business, and that's about it.
I find that so interesting. And that is something new that I've learned. Go to the page 3 of Google. I don't think I've even clicked page 2 of Google ever. So I guess that's a tip to all WiP members. If you're looking for something, page 3 is where you should check it out. But I'm going to go to Ranjana. How do you think the algorithm, if you want at the whims of how the YouTube algorithm works, for example, do you think the way you approach your content would change? Or would you think it would stay the same?
It would stay the same because, yes, because I write what I really feel very, what resonates with me. So I think it will remain the same.
I really like that.
The only problem I face here is that I can't elaborate as much as I would want to. So whatever I write has to be like a pressy. So that is the only limiting factor. Otherwise, I think it would stay the same. Maybe I may write something longer.
Okay, that's interesting. Maybe I think we need to just find another social media platform that allows you to do that.
Yes.
The question is going to be for Ritika. Considering you manage, I think all of us, including myself, the most amount of different social media platforms through your company, how is content different for different social media platforms?
So all of them, Nanki, work with different reasons. So for example, Facebook was initially started by a group of college goers only just to know each other's faces, to literally, read each other people's faces like books. It was as simple as that. There's no other story or nothing else to it. Long gone, in 10 years, it's become one of the most, one of the most commercial platforms ever in the history of humankind. Okay. Facebook was put up for a different reason. Twitter, again, works at a different level. I personally call Twitter the fastest moving newspaper in the world, where within, I think, fractions of seconds, your timeline is constantly changing. You're looking for something, you bat an eyelid and that news is gone, and then you're constantly looking for it everywhere. Think of it like this. While the earthquake is still happening, people are not worried about running to safety or anything. They are busy tweeting that, oh, there is an earthquake I'm feeling right now. Has anybody had felt it? This is so-and-so city. So Twitter is for that. Instagram is more visual. They have more privacy, safety measures in place. YouTube is, again, now it started initially as something only for music and audio levels, and now we are all over the place. People are building businesses. I know a friend of mine, he's a stand-up comic. You won't believe it, Nanki, when I tell you this, that YouTube pays him about 8 to 10 lakhs every month, just the basis on the number of views and hits he gets on his YouTube video. Wow. 8 to 10 lakhs. It's a huge, solid amount. I said, dude, you don't need to work for the rest of your life. And this guy's telling me, no, you don't get it. I need to work even harder because now I'm used to this and I need more content so that more people come. So that's a separate story. But having said that, I think all different platforms, the reasons for their existence are, completely different. So one of the things I also have realized that, I don't know if you've noticed this, that if you go to someone's Facebook page, right, and you're scrolling, you open Facebook, you see, let us say, X person writing something about how they were at a holiday. Then I said, okay, fine. So I've spent some time on Facebook. Let me go to Instagram. So you go to Instagram and you have the same person, the same photographs, with the same text, with the same everything coming. And I said, oh, this is sense of deja vu happening. What's happening here? I said, no, it's not deja vu. I just saw this stuff like 10 minutes back on Facebook. And then surprisingly, you go on LinkedIn and the same, content follows there. So I'm like, why do I have the same people connected with me on these 3-4 different platforms? Essentially, everybody is what they're just trying to do and they're not getting it is it just rushing to share. I don't understand this innate need to share everything everywhere. I mean, I would say that yes, if there is something extremely important that I need to share personally for myself, now, which is a very, very critical part of how the people perceive me and part of my branding, yes, I would share it at different times on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and let us say Facebook. But there are times where I put up a post on Instagram and people on Twitter or Facebook have no idea what I'm doing, or vice versa, LinkedIn. So I never try and put all my data or my post the same thing across 4 platforms, right? Every audience is different. Everybody is out there looking for something else, and I am telling you, if you don't get that bit right, you could be very, very ferociously trolled for that. I know people on Twitter who try and put up a new profile picture. If things appeal to them, it's great, especially if it's a girl. If not, they're saying, oh, don't make an Insta or Twitter, please go away. You should be on Instagram, you're not supposed to be on Twitter. Or when you hear people singing songs on LinkedIn, I'm like, dude, where is this coming from? Or something like a good morning message on LinkedIn. I'm like, aren't we getting that enough already on WhatsApp with those pool patti and chai ke cup and all of that happening already? I mean, hats off to all our parents who are doing that day in, day out and reverting to every damn message that they see on WhatsApp. But having said that, also we need to realize that all these platforms are built for different purposes. Personally as well as professionally. So if you're looking to push yourself out professionally, LinkedIn is not just the only place you need to be in. If your audience is sitting on Instagram, for example, like I don't have too much of a visual content to share in terms of my professional brand, as in Content Factory, but I'm fond of photography. So if I'm going to be putting something out there, then I either need to be on Instagram or probably go to Pinterest, though Pinterest is a bit relegated to the background now. So it all depends on the kind of content you want to share, the kind of audiences you are looking to target, and also what is your brand all about. If you're a jewelry brand, you're not on Instagram, you've lost 50% of your market audience. That's how it works.
Oh, that's really interesting. I'm just going to build on that slightly because I want to understand from you, Priya, that is, in your expert opinion, do you think that one social media platform is perhaps a little bit more technology savvy, has a more, swankier algorithm, or is just doing something better than another social media platform? Because, I think Ritika mentioned how Pinterest has now been relegated to the background, where a couple of years ago, it was all the hype. Everyone was on Pinterest making mood boards. And now, yes, very much so. I haven't heard about Pinterest in years now. So what should a company be doing if they're a social media platform? What sets them apart? How do you know that a social media company is doing something right, in your opinion?
Okay, here the competition plays, Nanaki, I should say. So basically, everyone is looking forward to the technological advancement that they can bring in, and what next, what new features that they can add in, or diversify what all things they can. And so if you look at Facebook when it started back in 2000, I guess I joined Facebook somewhere in 2007. So at that time, it was just like you get connected, right, to your old friends. So it started from that. But then see what all they have added to that, right? Right from chat to games to shopping, like e-commerce, right? So many things has evolved. So it just not you can restrict this to social media per se, but it comes to every business, right? The moment you stop innovating or bringing up new ideas, you are out of business, because there is already a competition out there, not just one, maybe many, multiple of them, right? And those would be youngsters, right, who are coming in with new ideas and bringing more technological advancement in each of these platforms. So it could be like not just, we cannot restrict this to social media alone. It becomes universal to any business. So the moment you stop, you are out of business. So it is like you keep inventing. And if you look from the technological point of view, there's a lot that has evolved over the period of time, both in terms of hardware and software, right? like in software, we have all these machine learning and AI things coming up, right? But if you look at it, say 2 to 3 years back, there were many things which were not possible. Even though you had these algorithms, you knew how to build it, but the thing is, you did not have the hardware support which would, help have this software implemented. Then what happened? Even the software firms, I mean the hardware firms, were also equally pushed to come up with innovation so that it could, support such algorithms. So they also had to innovate. So it happens everything as an ecosystem. Everything has to evolve. So then the hardware things also, and the computational power improved, and then you could have all these algorithms implemented, and then we can see real time recommendations coming up.
Okay, so my next question is for Ranjana. Is that what are the main, maybe one or two shortfalls when writing for social media platforms?
One, I would say that you are restricted by probably the trending topics. You're restricted by the number of words. That is what I feel probably is one of the shortfalls. Second shortfall is that there are times when you have to rein yourself if there's a controversial topic. You cannot get into a sling fest if somebody, puts a comment which is very negative or inappropriate. There you can just delete or block it. But then, I feel that I have to really control myself, control my temper, because the moment I start getting into a sling fest, it's only going to harm me. And this is a complete stranger, and probably, like Ritika says, probably a bot who's just trying to manage my emotions. So that is one thing I feel is, it really gets very challenging. And then showing up every day there, being so consistent. And yes, I think that is what is my take.
I guess consistency is the key to actually making the thing happen. But I can actually understand just from running, helping mom run WiP, just how demanding it can be to find content day in and day out and put it out there. So yes, no, I think that's brilliant. And I think any content creator on any social media platform, I think they do remarkable work when they're posting something so consistently. Before we leave, I'm just going to ask you one last question is, what would your advice be to the upcoming writers who want to write for social media? Priya?
Yeah, from my side, it would be like one thing which they have to take care of is the SEO thing. It is a critical factor because you take the example of hashtags, for example, right? So you ensure that you are using those wisely, and because those are related to the content that you are putting across on the social media platform, and ensure that you are using the right medium, right? Whichever, so that you reach the target audience. So ensure that you put it up at the right place and share it across. So these are some things that they have to take care of, and of course they have to be keeping themselves updated, see what others are writing about, so that they get a feel of what actually is trending, what is happening, right? So keeping oneself updated on what the trends are is really very important, and based on that they have to ensure that they are providing value adds to their consumers or people who are following them, and ensure that there is variety in whatever they are producing, so that it adds value. Yeah.
Okay, variety and knowing your target audience. I think that's really good. Okay, Ranjana?
Yes, when people always tell me, they say that we want to write, but we don't know how to write. Also, the advice I always give them is that start writing. Don't wait for a day to write. Start writing now. Even if you write a single sentence, start with a paragraph and start writing, and keep the flow going. And once you do that, then you can probably think that if you're on social media and you're writing, what is the purpose? Are you creating a brand image, or are you there for the long haul? If you are, then you can think about your target audience and start writing for that. And once you do that, try to stay away from controversies. Try to be consistent. Try to, bring something useful for your audience.
Very nice. Okay, so knowing your target audience, and I guess you're busting the myth that you're not really going to be ready. Just give it a go and just get started. I think that's really nice. I think that's applicable to not just social media. It's applicable to everything. Ritika.
I'd probably disagree a lot here. I think before you start writing and before you even think of becoming a writer on social media, I think it's very, very, very important for you to read first. And when I say read, I mean read social media, understand how it works, right? You need to be extremely, extremely ballsy to go and put yourself out there, because once it's out, once it's on the net, there is nothing called a delete button. It's going to be on the net forever. So have nerves of steel, have patience, and then be ready to get trolled, get feedback, get criticism, and it's all going to be unfair. Nobody promised you a fair world. There is a bot sitting there. There's a friend who's, probably masked as someone else, and people are all over the place. So I think in that, try and create your own method in this madness somewhere. So read, understand. I mean, I go and see how people are trolled, and I try and not make the same mistakes. Though I did get trolled, I think a couple of weeks back over something really stupid that I did, very, very stupid, and I paid a very heavy price for it. I had to delete my post. I had to go apologize. I had to do all of that, but it also made me understand, and it was something very small. I don't know if we have the time. I'll just quickly share. I made a mistake of putting on Twitter one post that had my me very nice and very cutely kind of leaning on my car, on my new car. It was a Mahindra thing, and with the numbers kind of blurred out, but in my DP the car had the number on it. So somebody picked up on that inconsistency and said Sardars being Sardars or Punjabis being Punjabis. I mean, Punjabi girl does this, Punjabi. So I was like, suddenly there are like some 70-80 comments, and I'm getting told really bad. So I delete my post. I was like, this is wrong, this is bad. And then I said, okay, sorry, it was my fault, I made a mistake, blah, blah, blah. Then I remember a friend of mine calling me up and telling me that, and I'm so funny. I mean, I put out the text on that post was, she's all attitude. Okay. And then she's like, Ritika, really, that was your attitude? I mean, weren't you supposed to stick up for yourself? I'm like, that part I completely missed. So I said, okay, fine. So then I put out another post on Twitter saying she's all attitude and now showing it finally, something like that, right? So you to be prepared for all the trolling, fair, unfair, whatever it may be, but you should know how social media works. It's a messy world out there. There are sick people. There are people who are don't have the best intentions. There are villa people. There are free people. There are all kinds of people out there. So once you decide to write, be prepared for what you may get in return. So once you have that, once you've, kind of steeled your nerves for that, I think you're good to go.
Great. I think that's a lovely note to end this on. So writing in the age of social media what does it mean to be writing in the age of social media? It means to be ballsy. So that's great. So thank you all three of you for taking your time and coming and helping and sharing your views on this panel. I think we've all learned a lot, and I'm sure the WiP members are going to absolutely enjoy this conversation. So thank you all.
Thank you, Nanaki. It was
Thank you, Nanaki.
With all of you together.
Thank you so much, Mandeep ma'am, Priya, Ranjana, and you, my good girl, Nanaki. I know it's a little late for you, but thank you so much for having us all on this platform.
It was a pleasure. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Nanaki. Bye, Priya. Bye, Ritika.
Bye, all.
Bye, ma'am. Bye, Divyanshi.